In this video, we're going to graph and write equations using the x and y-intercept. And of course, we're going to go over our overview and see where we're at with this particular lesson, and then work some examples. So here's the big overview. Again, throughout this unit, our task will be to write equations of lines, and in this particular lesson, we are working on writing it given two very specific kind of points. And then given an equation, we are going to find 2 points that are solutions. They're actually the x and y intercepts in this case. And then we're going to use those to graph. Here we go. We're going to begin by graphing equations by finding the x and y intercepts. So the directions just say to graph the equation x plus y equals 3. By now, we know a couple of different methods for this. We could solve this for y and put it in slope-intercept form and use the slope and the y-intercept to graph it. One of the nice things about standard form, though, is that it's particularly easy to find the x and y-intercepts. So this one's in standard form where x and y are on the same side. So we're going to use the x and y-intercepts to help us here. So we're first going to start by finding the y-intercept by putting 0 in for x. So 0 plus y equals 3. Look at that. Y equals 3. So 0, 3 is one of my points. Now remember, I said this in the previous video, this is not the y. There are lots of x's and y's that add to get 3. And we'll talk more about that in a second. So when you get down here, remember that 3 is not my answer. I'm going to put it back as a point. Then I'm going to find the x-intercept by putting 0 where the y is. So x plus 0 equals 3. So x also equals 3. So I have another point at 3, 0. So these are my x and y intercepts. And then I'm going to try to draw a very straight line that goes all the way through the graph with arrows. That's an arrow at the end. Make sure it goes all the way through the graph. This is going to be very important for a future unit. Now I said, remember there are a lot of x's and y's that equal to 3. Remember this is a graph of all the possibilities of x's and y's that add to get 3. Here is 1, 2, 1. Adds to get 3. If x is 1 and y is 2, that also adds to get 3. Oh, but here's another one. If x is negative 1 and y is 4, that also adds to get 3. Here are 3 different x's. So that's why this is not the x. There are lots of x's paired with lots of y's that add to get 3. This has infinitely many solutions. That's why a graph is so awesome, because it shows all of them. Let's do another one. So again, we could solve this for y and use slope-intercept form, or we could try using x and y-intercepts. So I'm going to find the y-intercept here by putting 0 in for x. So negative 4 times 0 plus 5y equals 20. 0 plus 5y equals 20. 5y equals 20. Y has to equal 4. We're zooming in there for a dramatic effect. So that's not my y. Have I beat that dead horse yet? This is my y-intercept. That's what I just found. Don't lose track of your purpose. We have now found the y-intercept. So that was 0, 4. Now we can find the x-intercept. So now we're going to put 0 where the y is. And you'll get pretty fast at doing this. Like maybe you can already see that this goes away because it's 0. And maybe you can even imagine this step in your head without writing it all out. So my x-intercept is negative 5. Remember, that's my x, and it's paired with 0. That's what makes it an x-intercept. That's why we put that 0 there. So we have 0, 4, negative 5, 0. And we're going to very carefully Ooh, I did it faster that time. Draw a straight line, use a straight edge if you're drawing it on paper to go all the way through that point. And then every point on that line is another solution to negative 4x plus 5y equals 20. So we looked at how to graph an equation finding the x and y intercepts. Now we're going to use the x and y intercepts to come up with that equation. So it says write the equation of the line which has an x-intercept of 8 and a y-intercept of 2. It will do you well to remember that these are points. So if an x-intercept is 8, that really goes with a point of 8, 0. And if the y-intercept is 2, that goes with a point of 2. And you can see I have 2 points. You should know how to find the equation of a line given 2 points. I have 2 points. I need to find slope. So I'm going to go 2 minus 0. Well, zooming in again for dramatic effect. Over 0 minus 8. Y minus y over x minus x. And that's 2 over negative 8, which simplifies to negative 1/4. What did I just find? Don't lose your purpose. Remember, we just found the slope, so I'm going to circle it. I can only zoom in. There we go. Now I have at least 1 point, and I have my slope. So I can write the equation of line using point-slope form. Y minus y1 equals, are you writing it down? You better be writing it down. Every time you use it, write it down so you don't forget it. Remember, y is going to be y. Y1 is going to be one of these points. Don't put the 8 for x and the 2 for y. It's 2 separate points, so only use one of them. It's a really good idea to use this one, the x-intercept. And I'll show you why here in a second. Equals negative 1/4 times x minus 8. Because y minus 0 is y. It's just one less step. And then we're going to distribute this in here. Technically, it just said to write an equation, so I could have stopped there, but I really like to put it in slope-intercept form. It's just good practice. So 1/4 of 8 is 2. 8 divided by 4, because there's a numerator of 1. And then we have 2 negatives, so that's plus 2. And look, as a double check for myself, does my equation have a y-intercept of 2? It did! It did end up with a y-intercept of 2. So hopefully you now have an idea of how to write an equation given the x and y-intercept and how to graph given an equation by using the x and y-intercepts.